Holy shit, Wonder Woman 1984 was fucking awful.
This is unacceptable!
To be fair, I wasn't really expecting much from this movie, considering I'm one of 5 people on this planet who thought the first one was really bad. It was also my first time watching a Patty Jenkins film, and I was not impressed. Thus you can imagine how excited I was when I heard there would be a second one with the same actor-director duo returning. But oh boy, I did not expect it to be this bad.
That is one big pile of shit.
I would go as far as to say that this is the single worst major production movie that I've ever watched in my entire life. And yes, I'm the same dude who watched the Emoji Movie and The Rise of Skywalker, so don't think I forgot about those shit shows. I'm gonna do a quick spoiler-free review for those who are wise enough to avoid this atrocity, followed by a full breakdown into everything that's wrong with this movie. But without further ado, here we go. I mean, I already kind of spoiled it for you, but the movie is dog shit. In any case, let's just talk about these really stupid spoilers. The film opens up in Themyscira with a young Diana taking part in what I guess are the Amazonian Olympics, and we already run into issues here. First of all, why are there so many Amazonians here? In the first movie, we never see this many people, so you kind of question the logic of, where did they go? The movie also contradicts the first one because now, for some reason, Diana is taking part in these Olympics, even though her mother literally says she does not want Diana training at all, or fighting, or partaking in any of these events, yet for some reason she's cool with it now?
She should at least be able to defend herself.
From whom? In the event of an invasion.
Isn't that why I have the greatest warrior in our history leading an entire army, General?
I pray they will never come where she has to fight. But you know, a scorpion must sting, a wolf must hunt.
She is a child, the only child on the island. Please let her be so.
But Mother...
There will be no training.
The director really forgot her own movie, guys. And boy, does it get worse. All these random events are happening for no reason whatsoever, with no explanation at all, and by the end of the film, you wonder why the scene was even inserted, because it literally contributes nothing to the movie at all. Diana competing against fully grown Amazonian trained warriors is already questionable enough, but then we see her climb this ladder thingamajig, so why are the other half climbing up a rope? I know this is all really small and all in the grand scheme of things, but you really wonder how this entire shit show operates. Heck, I just established that none of this is relevant to the plot, but still, is really just a setup for how bad this movie is, MacGuffins, plot holes, lack of knowledge for the viewer, and a total disrespect for good writing. Conveniently, there are only 6 horses available for the 6 competitors who would have made it up to this track so far, even though it began with 9. So what the hell would have happened if all of them made it? There are only 6 bows with 7 placements for the team as well on the circle thingy. What? Can you imagine being the bottom 3 swimming up to the shore only to find out that you've been cucked by these Amazonian warriors? You're like, fuck you guys for being the bottom 3. Now they have to jog back to the stadium. So far, the only consistency about this film is that it is total cringe.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
Also, I just realized this, but the geography of this scene doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So let me get this straight. You dive into the ocean after climbing the ladder, climbing up the rope, and all of that nonsense, whatever. You swim around this sand area, grab a horse, then ride in the direction of the stadium again? Why not just go to the side, run to the horses instead of having to swim? Better yet, why not place the horses there? What exactly does this extra 400-meter swimming dash accomplish? And why are these Amazonian bitches even cheering on? They can't see shit. It's not modern day. You don't have a TV or a camera, so what exactly are you cheering? Are you just cheering the small rope with like the team flag colored shit falling down? What the hell? And Diana should not be able to make that jump on her horse. I mean, look at the fucking angle. Come on, movie, at least fix that in the post-production. That isn't even that difficult. It's basic physics. To make a long story short, Diana apparently cheats in this contest, even though the movie was not interested in telling us any of the details about this contest at all. She looks behind like a dumbass, runs into the bush, and falls, and then decides to conveniently go through a slip and slide to make it to the end.
But I would have won if you didn't.
But you didn't. You cannot be the winner because you are not ready to win. And there is no shame in that.
Okay, but why, movie? Because she quote unquote cheated? I mean, really, cheating is just outsmarting the system if I'm being honest here, but okay, she cheated, fine. But because she cheated, all of a sudden she's just not ready to win yet? And again, the lesson of cheating has no impact or lesson learned for our main character for the rest of the movie. You could have cut out this entire flashback and the movie would be no different. In any case, we get our title. Yay. Even though being in the 80s has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. Seriously, you guys might think I'm joking here, but the 80s never serves as a critical plot point, nor in any way does it have an impact on the plot. The only reason it might even exist, and I'm pulling this out of my ass by the way, is that towards the end of the movie, because of the whole wish granting mechanic nonsense, we see the president wanting more nukes, you know, because of the whole US-Russia tension nonsense in the 80s and the Cold War, blah, 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 or was that in the 60s? I don't know, I'm not very good with my history, but honest to God, I cannot think of a good enough reason for this film to take place here. At best, it's the reason I stated, and at worst, it exists solely as a marketing tactic because in the current pop culture nostalgia, 80s cash grabs are huge and successful, and Warner Brothers is just counting on it, you know, so that someone would watch their shitty movie in the middle of a fucking pandemic. We get introduced to Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, who saves an innocent woman who is jogging from two reckless teenagers driving a car by kicking the car out of the way. You could have killed them, Diana. And by the way, it is another detail you might pick up on pretty quickly actually if you pay attention, but every dude in this movie other than Steve Trevor and Maxwell Lord is treated like shit, but I will rant about that in a little. Also, why the hell would you stop? You could have perfectly avoided that car. The car should also not be rotating in the same place when kicked because it was moving in that direction, so why is it spinning in the exact same spot? That's not how physics works.
Oh, somebody kill me, please!
Oh, and these chicks rob a dude's store, but Diana also never stops them either because they are women, and all women are queens. Because as we all know, men are terrible. Don't you guys know that?
You have it all. Do you have
okay, what the hell is this? Why are all these dudes staring at these women like goddamn creeps? So I was gonna save this rant for earlier, but now might be appropriate because beyond the stupid illogical nonsense that is essentially the entire movie, it really pisses me off that we're seeing an obvious agenda from Patty Jenkins. I am not even one of these dudes who's like, SJW this or SJW that. I don't know why I did that with a weird accent, but goddamn, even I have my limits. What is this movie trying to accomplish here? Let's just ask that question. To elevate women? Because newsflash, you can do that without having to push the other gender down. And to those who might be watching this video, I'm not arguing that every dude be shown in a positive light, obviously not. But when almost every guy is treated like some thirsty ass predator, I have a problem. If you don't see an issue with this movie, I would simply like for you to imagine if the roles were reversed. If your stance still hasn't changed, well, I guess fine, at least you're consistent. But if it has, you're part of the problem and part of the reason why a lot of these issues that do exist in this film are entirely omitted when discussing the film with a large crowd defending this. And the worst scene with the worst implication in this entire movie is the... you know what? I will hold off. I will talk about it when we get there. I really want to rant about it, but no, I must set up to that point. So we will wait. Also, for a movie that is so obviously trying to degrade men, I find it hilarious that apparently Diana can't function properly or move on from a man or even have a decent social life because, you know, Steve Trevor's just not there anymore. And that the most interesting characters in both movies are men. Steve Trevor in the first one and Maxwell Lord in this one. For realsies, guys, Gal Gadot cannot act to save her life. She's as expressionless as a wooden plank.
Kal-El, no!
We get this awfully edited action scene of Wonder Woman beating up on these robbers who decided to rob in broad daylight.
My God!
You incompetent fucks, why would you rob in the broad daylight? Especially in a mall filled with hundreds of people, hundreds of eyewitnesses. This is so stupid. Somebody could have seen that. And to top that off, this dipshit, like the incompetent man that he is, drops his fucking gun. Oh my god, this movie. Oh, and then Wonder Woman shows up to save the day. Yay. The movie tries to be smart by having her destroy the cameras because, ooh, her identity must be a secret, even though there are literally hundreds of people at this mall with lots of witnesses, including a kid who very much saw what she looked like, yet the world wants to pretend as if till Batman v Superman, she has been able to keep her identity on the down low, and it's only like Batflick knows who she is and nobody else. And then she unropes, or I guess it's unlassos, this guy and then just goes to fight the other dudes. At least immobilize him, or did the lasso paralyze him somehow? I generally do not know how this even works here because it just stays still and he's just shivering as if he saw the truth. Yes, just kidding. How does the lasso of truth even split up and tie both of these dudes? The problem with this is that the rope can be used for essentially anything and everything without establishing any proper rules, and then confining itself to said rules which are realistic within the given context. Later in the movie, the lasso, which you see right now, becomes long enough to ride lightning. It's long enough to catch onto a plane. What the fuck? Oh, and those dudes she just captured, yeah, well, she drops them on a police car. Thanks for damaging government property, you bitch. And those dudes should totally be dead. Then we hear this nonsense.
Who exactly even stopped this crime?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe ask the hundreds of eyewitnesses who were at the fucking mall, you moron. It's your job. If you can identify her face, you can very much discover her identity, considering she works for the government in DC of all places. This film really expects me to believe that Diana, this badass superhero who needs no man and is independent, cannot move past the guy she only knew for barely a week in the last 6, almost 7 decades. The time gap between these two movies is almost 7 decades, yet Diana cannot move on? I don't even want to call this illogical. I just think Diana needs to check into therapy because, girl, you got some problems. Also, why do you have so many pictures of Steve? And wait, is that Steve's mom? You creep, what the hell? Oh, look how lonely Diana is and how the film is literally not subtle at all.
Excuse me, are you waiting for someone?
No, just me.
Sheesh. We then get introduced to Barbara, our stereotypical introverted nerd character, whose social skill tree sits at a whopping 0. Then proving my point that all guys are dicks in this movie, Jake decides to not help Barbara out after she drops her papers.
Hey, Jake. Jake, hi. Can you...
Seriously, who does that? Look, I don't have the longest professional career at all, only a couple internships, but no one does this at all. In a public environment, nobody does this. Then we see the hiring manager of Barbara, who forgot what she looked like?
You happen to know who a Barbara Minerva is?
Oh, hi, Carol. Hi. It's me. I'm Barbara. Remember you hired me? Started last week?
Oh, gemologist.
Yes, I'm a geologist.
I'm sorry, what?
The movie's so obviously and inorganically trying to shove it in your face to sympathize with this character and set up how and why she's treated this way for being a social outcast and everything, but it is so forced and unnatural that you probably don't give 2 shits about whatever this character is going through. Honest to God, when I wrote down my notes while watching this movie, there were 2 recurring themes. Who the hell talks this way? And 2, the action scene is awful. Here's what I mean by the former.
Animal print. Do you want to get lunch?
She says, bye Diana, but then we literally cut to the next scene and they meet each other. The editing in this movie is a fucking joke, honestly, and everyone who worked on this movie should be fired and never hired again, hopefully. They come across our MacGuffin, an artifact that grants any wish, and later takes what is your most valuable possession too. But as I mentioned before about the lasso of truth, which has no functional or defined mechanics, this too makes no sense whatsoever and creates a lots of plot holes, which I will be discussing. Diana eventually decides to go out for a meal with Barbara, not because she wanted to, but because she felt sorry for her loser ass.
It's my job, and I'll look into it more when I have a chance.
Okay. Well, thanks for talking to me. I'm sorry. I mean...
Hey, stop! Why? I just don't get it. I always catch you fuckers watching this sick shit. This is sickening.
Wow, you're
so funny.
Thank you.
Wow.
I mean, no one's made me laugh like this in such a long time.
Obviously, the writers didn't want to write a funny joke, otherwise we would hear it. And then Barbara, who goes, "Oh, don't you go out often? I'm just a loser, cause you know.
Well, we're British, you see.
I've never been popular in high school, and now my accent has changed for some weird ass reason, but you guys get what I mean. I hate you, and you are the worst character in the entire movie, Barbara," which is hilarious because this movie is filled with really, really horribly written characters.
People think I'm weird. They avoid me and talk behind my back, and they don't think I can hear them. I'm like, guys, I can hear you.
Oh, for fuck's sake. After this, we see a brief interaction of Barbara and a hobo who she's really nice to because Barbara's really nice. And then we get a drunk dude who harasses Barbara. And yet again, Diana just conveniently shows up at the right time to save the day.
No!
Okay, what is this action scene exactly? I guess the film is trying to show from Barbara's perspective in that she isn't quite sure what just happened and is taken aback, but you could very easily have a wide establishing shot or even a POV of Diana where we, the audience, can clearly see what is going on while having our central character remain confused as to what just happened and how and who she was saved by. But no, we opt for this nonsense to save budget, even though this film cost $200 million to make. And to top that off, Diana doesn't even report the dude. He literally tried to assault Barbara, you asshole. Fucking report his ass. Why wouldn't you report him? Then Barbara proceeds to wish to be like Diana in the next scene, which makes her evil? Question mark? Even though Diana is supposed to be a good person in this movie, but then this is the same movie where Diana rapes a guy, so I guess it makes sense. And yeah, I said rape, but I will talk about that soon. And then obviously Jake Knott from State Farm says a casual hi to Barbara, which he didn't do before, even though she does not look any different at all. Seriously, is this why the movie is called Wonder Woman 1984? Because we're repeating these really dumb tropes from the 80s of that really nerdy chick who looks all hot and shit on prom night or something? What the hell is this nonsense? If Barbara got some makeover, I would still understand why a person might look at her, even though that is also pushing it, but okay, fine. She looks really nice, she's all decked out in makeup, whatever it might be. But here, she looks the exact same, and in less than a damn day, Jake is nice to her, so fuck you, Jake. After seeing him in the background through a TV commercial, we finally meet Maxwell Lord, our antagonist, who I will say is the best part of this movie. Don't get me wrong, the writing is still trash, and he is incompetently written, but I really like Pedro Pascal's performance. Albeit he is over the top and goofy, but well, that is more than I can say for the wooden plank as our main character. It's the only reason this movie even gets a 1 for me. Why does Diana get pissy with Barbara and Maxwell when they're flirting with each other? Like, Diana's an actual dick in this scene. I mean, she's a dick throughout this entire movie. Like I said before, she's a rapist, so there is that. But she's seriously a big asshole during this movie. Barbara's obviously a loser, so like, let her have her moment, man. It would be one thing if she had an established context or history with Maxwell and did not like him for whatever X reason might be. But here, there's literally no given context that would fit the bill, or at least one that has been explained to us, the audience. In fact, for the rest of the movie, we never find out. So in this scene, she's just being a jerk. Why? I don't know. I cannot explain it to you because the movie is not interested in telling me.
A few moments later.
We get more into Maxwell's background for some reason. At no point did his secretary decide to tell him that his son is there until the very moment he sees his son. This is just bad exposition, and realistically speaking, the secretary would have just said it by now because again, who the fuck does this? It is also very obvious that this kid is Maxwell's son and the audience is smart enough to figure it out, but instead the movie has to just say it for us. I know this is a really small dialogue exchange, but my point is that moments like these are plagued throughout the film. Like I mentioned, the conversation between Diana and Barbara before, and so much more after this scene. Horrible exposition is just littered throughout this movie. And who the hell names this kid Alistair?
Alistair!
You're asking him to get bullied, and I really hope he does because this kid was a little dipshit. I just wanted to punch him. Maybe that's how I take out my frustration because this movie's that bad. And then proceeding into Maxwell Lord's office, we see a random dude just waiting for him who happens to be his investor. Miss Secretary, why did you forget to mention that Maxwell's investor is just randomly waiting in his office for Maxwell? You incompetent cunt.
Turning it around? There is no oil. There never was. So how are you going to turn it around? Get more sucker investors like me? It's called a Ponzi scheme.
No, I have a big...
You did not dig into his background before investing money into a business that is clearly seeing no ROI, or at least one that is extremely shit.
With a great plan.
Oh, if you can dream it, you can have it. Something like that. You have 48 hours to get my money.
Okay, why are you saying this nonsense 48 hours before my money, blah, blah, blah? Just report his ass for fraud. Just call the FBI or the police or something. If you have proof that he's fooling you and conning you like you accuse him of being, then just report him of business malpractice or something like that. But no, he just comes to him, bitches to him, calls him a loser, and then just leaves.
I am not a loser. He's a loser.
Yo, mama.
Oh, shit! Oh, and then this kid doesn't utter a single word, to the point where I legitimately thought they actually repeated the footage every time it cut to the kid. I am not joking. Just compare the footage side by side, and they look no different, unless I'm going crazy, which I am. Cue to Kristen Wiig getting that makeover I was talking about, and she looks no different whatsoever. Seriously, she just removed her glasses and decided to wear a new dress, which she never tried beforehand. Did this person really never try changing their attire? I mean, I've gone through a lot of outfit changes in the last couple of years, and this bitch hasn't. Again, it makes no sense. She really never tried getting a makeover before.
Okay.
Now in between these two scenes, we get an immediate cut to Diana apparently researching into the stone. For some reason, she just assumes this stone to be really important because coffee guy got his coffee. Couldn't it just be a weird coincidence at this stage in the story? Because nothing massive has taken place that would imply something out of the ordinary is happening, so why bother? She proceeds to then search for the MacGuffin in the box only to find it missing and then see a sheet of paper with Maxwell Lord's name written on it. Okay, but why? This right here makes zero sense. So let me get this straight. This MacGuffin, along with other jewels, was on the black market for private buyers, as said by Barbara's boss. If Maxwell Lord is that private buyer who requested it, which is later implied in the movie when Diana and Steve search his office and find his research in that he's been very interested in finding the stone for a while, how the hell did Barbara not notice this? It was right there in the box. There's no way this happens afterwards because when Barbara and Maxwell meet for the first time, her boss states that he's interested in becoming a partner with the Smithsonian, meaning he's not a partner yet, thus the stone cannot be a property of his at this stage. I mean, it really wouldn't be his property even after he's become a partner because he's a partner, not an owner, but you guys get my point. If he's a partner, you still could stretch it out, you could thin out the logic, I guess, but this makes no sense. The only explanation is the one I stated above. That would make the most sense, albeit even that doesn't quite add up. Why? Because if it was intended for Maxwell Lord being sold on the black market with his name on it, then how the hell did Barbara not notice this and put two and two together that Maxwell could be dealing with the black market here? In fact, Diana does notice this and does not report this to the authorities whatsoever. Why? Diana just has a knack for not reporting people to the authority, Maxwell and that drunk dude. Like, why? Anyway, skip over to the party, and of course every guy's checking out Diana. Okay, fine, she looks hot, whatever. Honest to God, Patty has done this so many times at this point in the movie that beyond infuriating, it is now just hilarious. This entire party scene is just really confusing. So now that Barbara's wish has come true, it is evident that guys are into her and flirting with her, but what about Maxwell here? Is this applicable for him? Because in this scene it is implied and, well, later shown that he's there for the MacGuffin, so he's obviously using Barbara because the MacGuffin is in her office. There isn't a lot of information provided here, and I'm kind of only left confused because which thought process supersedes? Is it the fact that, oh, I'm so head over heels for Barbara, or oh, I really want this MacGuffin? She also states that she shouldn't let go of the MacGuffin, but lets him take it anyways.
What is that?
It's nothing special, really. But the FBI did ask me to help them identify it.
Wow.
Though it certainly has me stumped so far.
Let me help you. Max is here. No need to be stumped ever again. I have a dear friend in Roman antiquities. We'll give it a look if you like. It is Latin, isn't it?
I really shouldn't let it go on.
The dialogue explicitly states that she does not want him to take it, yet in the later scene between Diana and Barbara, she says that she just let him take it but never cared to take it back?
It's a long story, actually, about that. Max Lord came by to visit yesterday, which was actually pretty great. I'll tell you about it later. I let him borrow it.
What? Wouldn't it make more sense if Barbara was, say, distracted by something else? Maxwell then takes the MacGuffin in the midst of the confusion despite her telling Maxwell not to, and then tells Diana that Maxwell took it, even though she, being Barbara, insisted him not to. Those line of events would make a lot more sense than telling a person not to take it, only for you to tell the main character, hey, I just let him take it because I was horny. Why is she allowed to take what is basically government property and mess around with it in her office? The FBI send it to her to investigate it and she just gives it away. I'm pretty sure you should be fired for that or face some type of repercussions. The scene also makes no sense when you think about the fact that Diana is there to keep a track of Maxwell Lord, has her eyes on him, and then just loses him for some reason. She's paying so much attention to his movement that she forgets where he is. He was right there front and center, so how exactly do you lose him, Diana? I don't know. Incompetency. If Diana just chose to be smarter, right? Well, I guess if the writers chose to write better, she would have followed him and Barbara to the room and we wouldn't have this mess, but here we are. Oh, and as I mentioned the name before, you already know through the marketing itself, Steve Trevor's back, so I guess we should talk about that shit because it makes no sense either. So Steve Trevor takes over the body of a random motherfucker who reveals himself to Diana, later explaining that he was stalking her and tried to find her. Why did you not reveal yourself earlier when you had ample time to do so? I do not know, but this is not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that Diana never explicitly states or wishes for Steve to come back, even though the movie so far has shown us that you need to do that. So again, why is Steve Trevor back? I do not know, because there is no logical time gap that would allow Diana to explicitly hold the MacGuffin and state her wish. There's no scene. He should not be back, but okay. Diana does not recognize him until he says something that apparently Steve Trevor said in the first movie, only after which he transforms from handsome guy, and yes, that is his name in the credits, into Steve. But if he already was Steve, then why did she not recognize his face in the first place? How exactly does this work? Is he different only to her? Because if that is the case, wouldn't someone recognize him and perhaps go up to him? What if his family's checking on him? What about his friends, or literally any part of his social circle, or his work, his office? He's supposedly an engineer, right? There's so many questions that go unchecked because brain cells were not utilized in making this movie. Also, this ghost possessing nonsense is some really messed up shit, because not only does this happen, the movie acknowledges this to be the case, but then discards it as a joke.
A joke! Oh! Jokes!
A joke? What? So long story short, Diana just dips the party because, oh my god, Steve is back, even though she was supposed to be looking into Maxwell Lord, but who gives a shit about urgency, am I right?
Stay calm!
Steve, for some reason, isn't remotely in shock at all now that he's 70 years ahead of when he died. Okay, they get giddy, we get to Maxwell, get out of here, and Bart, you too, nerd. And then we see the next morning that Diana and Steve slept with each other, which if you actually think about it, is really fucked up because like I said before, she rapes a guy. Think about it. Diana has sex with a dude who has no control over his body and gives no consent. And before you contend me on that shit, I just want you to switch roles and tell me your reaction and if it would be the same if Captain America did that with Peggy Carter. Boom, I rest my case. The thing that infuriates me the most isn't even the thing itself, or the messed up fact that the movie chooses to ignore it, or the incompetency from the studio of completely overlooking it. What pisses me off the most are 1, morons on Twitter defending rape simply because it was Diana in place of a man and refusing to even acknowledge it as rape, and I'm not joking here, there are actually people saying that on Twitter. And 2, the director herself, Patty Jenkins. Patty thinks she's so clever after responding to this really bad tweet.
You are bad at writing, and nobody likes you.
Requiring a random follower to defend her bullshit instead of owning up to her obvious oversight. The tweet states that, oh look, you see this happened in movies in the past, a reference being big, so therefore 1, it is okay now to do it, and 2, Wonder Woman is showing that this is bad. See? But that is absolutely false. So let me go backwards for a second to the second point. At no point does this movie make the effort to present this as an issue. Like I said before, the film treats it as a joke. Going further ahead into the movie, Diana slowly loses her powers and has to renounce them because the MacGuffin is like a monkey's paw, which, like I said before, I will elaborate on in just a moment. But my point is that she renounces her wish not because she raped a guy, but because she was losing her powers. There's no way in hell you can convince me that she would renounce her wish if she weren't losing her powers. The really dumb thing is that this entire situation could have been avoided had they brought Steve back in a completely new body. We see later in the climax of the movie that walls come out of thin air, so why not just bring Steve back in a new body? Why do this whole ghost possession nonsense? It only creates more issues. And to my first point, just because it was considered okay back in the 80s in some movie that came out several decades ago does not make it okay here. Isn't the whole idea of us as a society to grow and evolve and address these issues that were problematic back then so that we do not repeat them now? What's the point if you choose to ignore that, repeat the same mistakes, discard it as a joke, and then pretend on Twitter that your intention was to show how serious this issue is, when in reality, you completely failed to do so. So no, in the end, I do not buy this bullshit. Patty, you are a fucking hack. If you're in a handsome guy's body, I'm pretty sure you do not want to have intercourse against your will. Maxwell takes the stone and wishes to be the stone itself, thus resulting in the stone getting absorbed into Max. I'm sorry, why is he doing this? Does he know something that we don't? You see, at this stage in the story, the monkey's paw has not been established. The monkey's paw being that you make a wish and in return your most valuable possession, or I'm gonna call it MVP for short, gets taken away. Is he doing this in order to take people's most valuable possession away? Because if that is the case, he does not stick to it. In fact, he actually breaks the rule. But two, how the hell did he even know about this? Because our main protagonist gets the monkey's paw mechanic on a fucking whim.
And in return, I'll take all of your shares and full control of Black Gold after you are somehow magically removed.
Which completely contradicts what we later learn in the movie.
Wishes with a trick. The monkey's paw. Beware what you wish for. It grants your wish but takes your most valued possession.
The problem is that the film is riding on this MacGuffin. This MacGuffin is central to the entire plot, but the MacGuffin is filled with so many plot holes that the film itself is fundamentally broken, thus resulting in this entire movie almost making zero sense. So I come back to the scene again. Why is Maxwell all of a sudden able to take whatever he wants in return? It would be fine if the movie kept it this way. However, it doesn't. It later ends up breaking that rule by establishing this monkey's paw shtick. Just take some rando off the street and be like, well, I want the shares of Sam, and call it a day. But no, we do this for some really odd reason. The police arrive just on time to arrest the investor too. Like, what? The wish was just made. How did you arrive that quickly? Were they already on the trajectory or driving towards that location or in some proximity that led them to showing up at the office? Again, we see Maxwell grant a wish, which he forced his secretary to make, and then a random dude mysteriously shows up. So was this guy on the path or locale such that he would conveniently arrive here? Also, by the time the wish has been granted, shouldn't this dude already be climbing up the stairs or go in the elevator? But then why is he coming to this office if he was going for a different interview? All these questions I'm asking are rhetorical, by the way, because the film yet again fails to make any sense. A solution to this simply would have been to delay the effects of the wish and give it time. I'm not arguing this would solve all my problems that are plagued within this film, obviously, but it would organically and logically allow for events to take place that make sense. But what is Maxwell's motive here? He had a struggling business with investors after his ass, and now he's succeeding. So now what? Why keep going? I guess you can make the argument that he's greedy, but what is the stopping point? Because eventually he tries to broadcast himself to the world, which makes zero sense, and tries to destroy it in the process. Diana, in her next scene between all of this, says,
So you said a stone started all of this.
Yeah, that's what we need to go and find out. I mean, it must have done something.
Yeah, because now she remembers that she was supposed to be looking for Maxwell and the stone instead of being horny and raping a guy. I sort of like Diana showing Steve around, even though Diana just mentioned how you need to find Maxwell, so what the fuck are you doing roaming around DC? Diana confronts Barbara and asks about the stone, only to tell her that she let him borrow it, even though she says,
Really shouldn't let it go.
Like I said earlier, the dialogues contradict each other and once again fail to make sense, so I'm going to skip over this. We then see Diana fail to break a lock, or at least struggle to do so, because surprise, she's slowly losing her powers, except when she conveniently isn't, and I feel like I've been using this word a lot, but really that's all this movie is. Gal Gadot just freaks out after realizing that the MacGuffin has been made by a god. Why would a god make a stone that has apparently destroyed civilization wherever the stone traveled? I do not know, but okay, movie. Maxwell also leaves his plane tickets behind in the trash. So how did he fly to Cairo? But the bigger problem is in the fact that because he left his plane tickets behind in the trash, our protagonists now know that they're supposed to go to Cairo.
Oh my god! Wow!
Then Steve goes, damn girl, I want to fly a plane too. So they go to a government facility that Diana has access to for what reason? Why does she have access to this? She works for the Smithsonian, but that shouldn't give her access to the planes at an airport, being a government facility one. This movie's so stupid. They somehow open the jet, and Steve, who once flew a plane back in 1917, can fly the jet of the 80s. So you're telling me that Steve, who has not flown a plane in the last 70 years, can fly a jet of the 80s with no learning curve whatsoever? Hell, he's even experimenting with the controls, so why would any sane person have any reason to believe in his ability to be able to fly this modern day jet? Diana, what is wrong with you? Oh, and the illogic does not just end here, my friends, because then security detects these two dipshits making a run for it. Diana, out of nowhere, can turn things invisible despite having not practiced for 50 years, which her words, not mine. She turns the jet invisible and then it disappears off the fucking radar, which is so stupid because that is not how radars work. Radars detect radio frequencies. Just because I turned invisible does not mean I disappear and I'm still there in that position. Patty, your dad was in the fucking Air Force. You should know better than me. Security guards also start chasing these morons, to which I only have one question. Where the hell were you guys this entire time? Were y'all just eating donuts, drinking coffee, and sleeping? Because God! Also, how do you end up arriving after them ahead at the end of the runway when you were behind them at the beginning of the runway? Steve is also surprised by the fact that fireworks exist, even though fireworks were first used in America after it gained its independence. I swear to God, everyone involved with this movie drank some of the dumb fuck juice. Also, these idiots should not be able to make it to Cairo. The longest a modern day jet can go on for is anywhere between 1,000 to 1,200 miles, while the distance between Cairo and Washington, D.C. is of almost 6,000 miles. As far as I'm concerned, these two morons should sink to the bottom of the ocean. Also, Cute and Barbara learning more about the MacGuffin, and yet we have another man hitting on her. She then leaves the office and is then approached by 3 men in less than 10 seconds. Are you beginning to understand what I mean by how insulting this movie is to men? And the third guy, ironically, happens to be the same guy who harassed and almost assaulted Barbara early in the movie, because Washington, D.C. apparently is a very small town and it's really easy and totally not contrived to run into people. Yet again, we get some more horrid dialogue from this movie.
Why don't you just slow down a bit, huh? Come on, girl.
But wait a minute. Barbara's much stronger now and thus decides to beat the shit out of him, which should totally kill him, but somehow this drunk asshole is still able to wobble it off and crawl away. I understand to a certain extent. After all, this dude was harassing Barbara and damn near assaulted her, but what's the stopping point? Because the fact that Barbara is still going is really pushing it. This dude not dying also makes no sense. He should be dead here, here, and here, and yet he's not. Oh, and look, it's the hobo Barbara was nice to, because remember guys, Washington DC is a very small town. It only has like 10 people staying here. I am not joking. Fast forwarding to Cairo, and we get another chain of really stupid events. So Maxwell grants Cairo Man's wish of getting control of his ancestral home and close the borders. In return, he wants his oil, but after Cairo Man tells Maxwell that the oil has been sold to the Saudis, he takes his security instead, even though this serves him no purpose later on. If he can just take anything in return, then why not force the Wisher, Cairo Man, to somehow get his oil back from the Saudis, and then Maxwell can take that. He would at least get what he really needs or wants instead of getting fodder that don't even guard or protect him later on in the movie. I mean, apart from the action scene that just happens afterwards, but after that. Oh, and the borders get closed by the magical wall coming out of nowhere, so again, Steve could have come back in a fresh new body, but no, he just comes back as another dude. Whatever. These two morons also show up in a car somehow, as if the US military would have lost track of their vehicle and couldn't very easily trace it to Cairo. Oh wait, it did, and it still makes no sense at all. It just hit me that it's been over an hour that Diana has been Wonder Woman. Seriously, we are at the 81-minute mark. She's Wonder Woman now. She was last Wonder Woman at minute 16. In fact, for over an hour and 24 minutes, because I counted, Diana is actually never Wonder Woman, which is over half the runtime. I don't even want to say I'm criticizing this, I just find this funny. Something else I noticed while editing this script is, where is Maxwell going? There's no explicit dialogue, neither is anything implied. After this action scene, we see him back in the United States, so I guess he was going to the airport, and based on the direction that Steve and Diana were going in versus where Maxwell was going, it would make sense that perhaps it's the airport. But if he was, why did he need the security? At no point was anyone chasing him, or at the very least, he did not know that Wonder Woman was going to come after him. So it's almost as if the movie inorganically sets up because Maxwell somehow can now predict the future because Wonder Woman would be after his ass, so he needs all these security guards to protect him against her, otherwise the movie would be resolved. He should not know that someone's chasing after him because in fact, no one chases after him. At best, it was Cairo Man, and Cairo Man gets just left in the dust like many minutes ago. So why does he need this here? I'm playing devil's advocate here, but him going back to the airport to fly back to DC is all I can come up with. What I cannot come up with is why he needs the security. He really doesn't. The movie just does not make sense. The character within the story, i.e. Maxwell, should not need the security or not have a valid reason. It just so happens it's very conveniently placed because Diana is gonna fight those guys and Steve can drive a car too. I guess maybe the learning curve for this one isn't all that much, but calm the hell on, man. Incompetent is the best way to describe this movie. Although I think a few minutes ago I said convenient was the best word to describe this movie. I guess there are lots of words to describe this movie. Look at the plot armor of this movie. These guards are barely 15 feet away from the car, shoot bullets, yet not a single one lands on the mirror and kills Steve.
Really, bitch.
There's no other way for you to convince me otherwise that this is not just plot armor, because it totally is. Diana, you're not wearing your costume underneath. Stop lying. It's so evident from this shot of the camera. And what is this god-awful CGI running nonsense, you useless crackheads? These morons also stopped shooting? Why? Did you see how easy it is to pick apart this movie? Patty, you're making it way too simple for me. Come on now. Then she pulls an Andrew Garfield hanging off of the truck from Amazing Spider-Man, hangs off the front door, breaks the steering wheel, and then you never find out what happens to the security guards. It isn't even their fault. They're possessed by Maxwell. Also, another editing error, but the truck she just ripped the wheel off of is now gone, even though it fell behind Steve's car, not in the wide shot, like, at all. And what the fuck? Can this lasso just catch anything? It caught a bullet traveling faster than Diana can turn. The entire scene is done in slow motion to give the visual appeal of, hey, this is possible. She totally caught that bullet with the lasso. When in reality, at that speed, Steve should already be dead, if not injured. Contrary to what Hollywood might make you believe, you cannot dodge a bullet at close range. I would still understand super speed, but Steve should be dead here. In fact, this happens again later in the same action set. Most action sequences in both Wonder Woman movies are god-awful, all in slow motion, many times poorly lit, and it is so infuriating to watch. Why are these guards also so damn incompetent? This dude is firing straight, yet somehow manages to shoot other trucks behind him, which are on the site and not directly in center. Also, remember how I mentioned that Diana struggles to break a lock because she's losing her powers, but conveniently is strong enough when the story requires her to do so? Well, yeah, she's now shoving a several-ton truck at full speed, but struggled to break a lock. Okay, buddy, okay. Now she's skateboarding on a scrap of metal to reach other trucks, even though physics argued that she should not be able to do this. Kind of reminds me of Captain America jumping up in the air and still being able to hold on to the truck in Age of Ultron, even though physics would like a word with him on that. It's really stupid how some of these movies do it. What the hell were you doing? Just shoot her or make a run for it. What are you yelling for? This entire action scene is so painful and retarded that I could sit here all day dissecting it, as if I haven't dissected a lot of it. Fortunately for myself and you guys, I value all of our mental health, and I will skip to the most important bit. She takes damage from the bullet because she's losing her powers, which again, also inconsistent because she took a cut off screen in the first Wonder Woman movie when the Germans attacked, but now the movie pretends that she's supposed to be bulletproof. I get that Wonder Woman is the obvious threat here to Max and the guards, but why not just get rid of Steve? He's right behind you, and instead this tank decides to shoot Diana, who is under the truck ahead of it and has no clear sight. So what are you wasting your ammunition for? Wait, why would you do that? And I'm sorry, did Steve just bend a fucking gun? Since when did he become powerful? Has he wished for superpowers too? Hey look, Gal Gadot's acting hasn't improved one bit.
Max Lord, I need you to give me the stone.
I know several people on Twitter have already made this joke, but Gal Gadot saving Middle Eastern children is absolutely hilarious, knowing her past. Wait, why are these dipshits playing in the middle of the road anyways? Just get out of here. That is not how momentum works, you goddamn morons. And look, she was in front of people. So much for keeping your identity secretive, I guess. How did you even fast travel here? You were literally in the middle of nowhere. Left your car behind, had it destroyed, but okay, movie. If you say so, whatever. After less than a day of research, Barbara knows literally everything about this MacGuffin, which I briefly mentioned earlier. Barbara reveals that she has found a lead, and then we get to a coked up Mayan.
That was fast.
Wait. You should not be able to make it on time, Diana. You are 15 hours away from DC by flight. Cause I checked. The Mayan dude, who just so happens to know about the MacGuffin by an already small existing population of an ethnicity group, happens to be 5 minutes away from Diana's house. Okay, so I'm exaggerating about the 5 minutes part, but you get my point. Maxwell's in DC, Barbara's in DC, Diana's in DC, the White House is in DC. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna call that convenient. I'm just pulling your legs. Why didn't Barbara just go without these people? Why wait till the morning just for them to show up? But you made this decision independent of their arrival, so
really makes you think.
Law. Beware what you wish for. It grants your wish but takes your most valued possession.
Again, Steve, how did you come to this conclusion? What if the trick was that you would get AIDS for using the stone? You not just guessed, but were very firm with your conclusion as to assume that this is the only option when it could be hundreds, if not thousands of different explanations for how this MacGuffin works. The whole story operates on this but proceeds to break its own logic because, like I previously mentioned, Maxwell does not even follow this rule by the end of the movie. Maxwell takes what he wants, but here the story tells us that it will take your most valuable possession, which, while not mutually exclusive, can be two different things. So again, there's a conflict of information here.
What I do know is you destroyed our people in a matter of months.
The few survivors, they buried the stone, never to be exhumed under any circumstances.
Okay, my man, but why? Why could they not destroy it? It was very clearly documented and cited as dangerous, but they chose not to destroy it? Like say in something such as Lord of the Rings, we are shown and told that Isildur was corrupted by the ring, kept it to himself, thus really preventing any plans to destroy the ring because he kept it to himself until, you know, he was killed, it accidentally fell into the river, Gollum found it, so on and so forth. You know the rest of the tale unless you've not watched the movies, which why have you not watched the movie? Here's the thing, there's nothing like that in this movie. There's really no real explanation as to why this needs to be the case. The only benefit of the doubt I'm willing to offer is that the stone is perhaps physically strong and thus no ordinary human could break it, but that's just me playing devil's advocate again, because there's no rationale or implication as to why this could not happen. At this point, I had to fill in the gaps myself and come up with far-fetched reasons. Also, wasn't Barbara's whole wish that she didn't want to be ignored by people and is an attention whore, or am I going crazy? Why are the other three just ignoring everything she says as if she's just not there? What if someone wished for the world to be cured of world hunger or some virus to go away? You guys are telling me you would undo that as well? I will touch more on this towards the very end of the movie, but the film tries to show as if every person on this planet out of the billions that exist is extremely selfish, as if selfless people just do not exist. Oh, and Barbara disappears and no one notices at all. And out of nowhere, Maxwell has a need to grant wishes for some unexplainable reason. It is clear from the revelation of the MacGuffin's history that where and when destruction followed, but also that the stone was hidden for a while. The stone itself was not sentient by any means, so it was not constantly in the state of granting wishes. But now Maxwell needs to grant wishes or has a drug addiction of doing so, and on top of it, it's killing him? Why is this happening? The audience has not been given any information that would help make sense out of this. Something I did not mention before, but I want to bring up now, is the wish mechanic itself, i.e. what the individuals wish for. What happens if person A wishes to be rich, but person B wishes for person A to be poor? What would happen then? What if two wishes contradict each other? Would the world just collapse and cease to exist? Would both wishes just not take place?
No, but listen, I also know what you wish for, and I wish for it too. Do you hear that? I wish for it too.
I just wish I could be with you.
No! You don't use your one wish like that, Alistair.
Also, since when can a person only make one wish? This later gets contradicted again, but why does it come up? For what reason can a person not have more than one wish? It's really just dumb. Just take one person and have them make all the wishes. Why does Maxwell even need new people if he breaks the rule anyways? I want to take a moment to conclude my issues with this movie through a comparison. Let us compare this to an anime I recently began to rewatch after several years, that is, Death Note. This is not a one-to-one comparison, rather it is intended to clarify the world-building issues within Wonder Woman 1984 and how in comparison Death Note does this far better. Now for those not aware of what Death Note is, let me provide a brief summary and the mechanics of this book that help establish its foundation. Our main character, Light Yagami, randomly finds a book called Death Note. The book states that any person whose name is written down on paper of this book will die within 40 seconds of a heart attack, as long as the owner is able to conjure up a face and their full name to mind. What made this anime phenomenal, until it wasn't, was the early episodes of our main character testing how far this notebook could realistically go by testing its limits with what is and isn't possible. A couple examples play out within the show that Light mentions himself, so let me show how it goes. If a name is written down with conditions of how said person will die, then those conditions have to be realistically feasible. Example, if you wrote down that a person in Japan has to travel to France within 1 hour and then die in front of the Eiffel Tower, that person would simply die of a heart attack in Japan because, as we all know, traveling from Japan to France in an hour is impossible. The other example used is when Light tries to have a prisoner draw the face of L, the detective whose face no one has seen before. but this is also impossible as you can't draw a face of someone you have not seen. While I'm not going to be able to go through every single example, I want you to understand that these examples that our main character himself tests are intended to show the boundaries and limitations of our MacGuffin present in the show. That is the Death Note. This, however, is not the case within Wonder Woman 1984, and it shows a clear lack of critical thinking and disrespect for logic. We get a touching scene between Maxwell and his son, which ends really stupidly because his son wishes for Maxwell's greatness. Why hasn't the wish already taken place? Shouldn't he immediately be quote-unquote great? And what exactly does being great in this context mean? I would assume it means rich, famous, powerful, maybe all three. Because if any of these hypotheticals is the case, then I expect paparazzis to be taking pictures of this kid and him being surrounded by bitches. In the very next cut, Maxwell tries to get a random dude to simply wish that Maxwell could get an audience with the president, but then realizes that he has already granted his wish, so it should not work. But then afterwards, he immediately gets to sit with the president? Who granted this wish for you, and what is happening? Just grab your stupid son, have him say all these things for you? Why not? But then that's not possible because out of nowhere, as I said before, the movie says he can't grant more than one wish, but he breaks his rule for Barbara anyways later on. So why? Also, what is happening here? Technically, this dude says,
how's traffic? Huh? Terrible. Don't you wish it wasn't? And that everywhere you went, parted like the Great Red Sea? Of course I wish that.
So what happens exactly here? I know that life is almost like a domino effect in that the actions of one can influence or impact the actions of another, and that chain continues, but at what point does Maxwell's oil and company becoming successful lead to riots at the Saudi embassy? Are they protesting against what happened in Cairo? Because Cairo is in Egypt. Saudis are not even relevant beyond the time they took the oil that Maxwell wanted, but at no point does that ever come up again as a critical plot point. You guys remember that time how Diana just conveniently showed up at the beginning of the movie, like everywhere to save people in trouble, as if she is super hearing like she's Daredevil, but now has not even noticed riots taking place and is instead chilling at her apartment? Why isn't she heading for Maxwell and searching for him? As far as she knows, she has lost, but if she was even aware of the riots or the police, she might take a hunch that, you know, perhaps Maxwell is back at the office. I don't know.
You're all that I've wanted. So long. You're the only joy I've had or even asked for.
Really, bitch? In the last 7 decades, he is all you wanted? A guy you barely knew for a week? I bet you didn't even know his favorite color, you asshole. Wonder Woman's personality should extend beyond Chris Pine. What traits does Wonder Woman have? Bad acting? Being a rapist? Desperate for a man she's not seen in 7 decades?
So many better guys, for one. I mean, look at how about this guy?
Even Steve knows you have better options. Diana is also really selfish here. She is being forced to give up Steve and renounce her wish, but remember, not because he has possessed a body and she raped that body and realized how evil that is, but because she was losing her powers, and that too conveniently. But even then, she's unwilling to do so because she does not want to lose the guy she cares about when the world is at stake here. Or at the very least, the lives of thousands, if not millions? The third act has officially begun, and now we get an introduction to a random power-up, which yet again defies logic. So what I'm getting at here is that nothing has changed for the movie.
Let me show you. You in your head?
What are you talking about? I haven't lied.
The lasso does more than just make you tell the truth. It can make you see it too. Her name was Asteria. She was our greatest warrior. When mankind enslaved the Amazons, my mother freed us. But someone had to stay behind to hold back the tide of men so the others could escape to Themyscira. My people gave up all of their armor to make her one suit strong enough to take on the whole world. And Asteria sacrificed herself for a better day for others.
Incredible.
When I came here, I searched for her. All I could find was her armor.
Diana out of nowhere shows Steve the history of the suit, which apparently this lasso of truth can do as well. The only time it's been used to, I guess, tell the truth is at the beginning of the last movie where the Amazonians investigate Steve Trevor. Beyond that shit, this comes out of nowhere, evidently to set up for our main battle. Also, if this lasso can apparently show history as we know it without being present there, as shown briefly in this flashback, why not use it to find out more information about the MacGuffin? Would that not at least help you better understand how to resolve the problem at hand, and at the very least confirm your hunch? This mechanic is used at the very end of the movie against Maxwell to show in the present where Alistair is, so why not use this to find Maxwell at this very moment? Why not try to understand him and his personal motivations for that matter? Why not see how he became the stone in the first place? Is the lasso of truth just tied to who you're emotionally connected to? Because if Diana is emotionally pissy at Maxwell, I'm pretty sure that would work too. There's so many questions that can be raised from just this one scene alone, which put the entire movie into question. As if the entire movie wasn't already in question, but I think you guys understand what I mean. The issue here is that the lasso of truth has become a powerful plot device, so powerful that it would actually immediately resolve a lot of the issues created by the movie. Instead of having to guess the mechanics of the stone, simply use the lasso to find out. Why can it not be done? Based on what we know, or really what we don't know, the assumption should be that the lasso can tell what the stone's deal is. How did you even get this armor, Diana? Her only explanation is super vague, that she found it but couldn't find the warrior. She shows up at the very end of the movie in the post-credit scene, so where was her bitch ass when this was all going down? In fact, where was she when Wonder Woman was fighting Ares through the power of love? Like, what? Was she just chilling? You asshole. Diana's mom mentions how she freed the slaves but forgot to mention the most important person who stayed behind to fight the men. I don't know, seems pretty important to me. They see a random car driving in the opposite lane on the TV and just assume that is Maxwell. Wait, is that what you guys were waiting for this entire time? It's not even like he showed his face, so what exactly do you have to go off of? What the hell is happening? They really waited just for a random ass car. Oh my god. But they go anyways. Wait, so she called the guy she turned down and quickly got access to enter the White House in the span of less than 30 minutes? And I'm being very generous with the time frame here, by the way. That is fucking ridiculous. And then we get a completely hilarious scene of the president warning his goddamn notes.
What do you need? And you're not speaking to me here, but to the universe. What do you wish for?
So Maxwell asks for all of the powers of the president, but can't ask for his health. Okay. And then you guys remember how I mentioned that Maxwell has to hold people's hand to grant wishes, but by the end it goes completely ignored? Yeah, well...
So what does that mean, you're taking over everyone's TVs? How?
Uses particle beam technology just like the Star Wars program. Apparently it bathes the landscape in a signal of particles that goes in and fiddles with any technology it touches. New or old. Broadcast whatever you want. Very impressive.
They're trying to complicate the matter to make it sound fancy, but what that basically means is that you can globally broadcast to all televisions. Do I even need to say what is wrong with this? You're telling me that the United States has override access to all televisions around the world and jurisdiction in those territories. Right. The president says the word touches and Maxwell instantly gets a hard-on. Radio particles hitting your TV is not the equivalent of holding a person's hand. Why do you even need this, Max Lord? You already have enough people around you to get all that you want. What can people globally, or hell, even outside of Washington, D.C., in different states and different cities, give you that a population of close to 700,000 people cannot? You really needed someone from outside of the United States to get his health back? Really? I really don't think radio waves and physically holding a person are the same thing, my guy.
Touching. Everything.
It's a figure of speech, but yes.
See, even the president knows this is some bullshit. This should not be happening at all, you stupid fucking movie. Wait, what the hell? Just shoot her. As far as you know, the president just told you to escort him to the global satellite base nonsense, and they're just standing there doing nothing. Also, Diana, you tied multiple dudes at once, so why are you not doing the same thing to the guys pointing guns at you? Even if you made the argument that you can't split up the lasso in more than half, you could still disarm one, right? That's one less gun involved in the fight. How does the tray just stop the bullets? That's not how trays work, man. They're not bulletproof. In fact, it would actually take several trays to even stop this thing. Yet again, completely defying logic to no one's surprise.
No, Steve, you can't use that. It's not their fault.
Oh wait, so now it's not their fault, but what about the Kyra soldiers? Who were then never used again, so why did Maxwell even take them with him? Anyways, bet you forgot about that, you racist bitch. Oh, and the lasso can stop all bullets like that, apparently. And oh look, plot armor once again. About a third of Diana's body, if not more, is uncovered, but somehow this guard doesn't even go for those areas when he's less than 5 feet away from her and shooting bullets. Why are you shooting where she is covered, you moron? Slow motion action scene once again, with Diana having the ability to not only deflect bullets, but also accurately point them in the direction she would like to. Dude, Steve should be dead from this. Also, how did Barbara know they would all be at the White House? Who told her this information? How did she make it here? Who let her in? And why? Did the movie delete a scene? Because I'm pretty sure I didn't, unfortunately, miss any.
Barbara. Can't let you do this, Diana.
She really is doing all of this so she does not lose popularity, huh? Barbara's still haunted by the fact that she was never prom queen back in high school and is down very bad. And yet once again we get another horrible fight scene, which I do not even want to talk about if I'm being honest. Can we skip this, please? Seriously, can I please leave? I'm fucking leaving this shit. How are these bullets missing her? Sure, she is fast, but she can't be faster than a bullet traveling 2,600 feet per second. Okay, Diana, even though you did that, this security guard should have his entire back broken. Then here's another awful exchange of dialogues, followed by Diana getting Barbara by the lasso and yet not using its powers to force her to talk or work things out.
Listen, you have no idea what you're dealing with. I'm not what you think. You can't possibly understand or...
Well, I can't possibly understand. Dumb little old me. Dumb little poor little nothing, nobody me. I couldn't possibly handle it.
No, Barbara, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, I'm handling it beautifully, and I'm not giving it back.
Maybe reveal her insecurities, make her realize the error of her ways or what she's doing could endanger humanity. You obviously know this chick is a couple screws loose as you talk to her very early on, so why not leverage it? I mean, that would be my solution, but what do I know? I'm not a writer, I guess.
You've always had everything, while people like me have had nothing.
Bitch, you're really doing this to get down with guys and becoming popular. How desperate are you? And apparently becoming hot, popular, and powerful makes you lose all personality. Sounds like all the hot girls I've talked to before. But seriously, she just becomes an asshole. That was her MVP. Your life has to be terrible if your personality is what is your most valuable possession. I don't know. Maybe I'm being an asshole now. Also, Diana claims that the monkey's paw will take the equivalent amount to what is asked, even though Steve says it would take the most valuable possession regardless of what is asked. So how exactly does the math work here? They aren't mutually exclusive, so we have a conflict of dialogues. Just remember, Warner Brothers executives read this and thought it was okay. I ask again, why is the world going to chaos? Out of nowhere, all these people are protesting over a wish that was made like 5 minutes ago. Diana is now out in the public in her Wonder Woman costume, but no one recognizes her in BVS.
I'll never love again.
I'm not joking. When I first saw this scene, I thought her tears were CGI. In fact, they just might be because that is how inept Gal Gadot is. And remember, she renounces her wish, not because it was wrong that she was selfish to keep a guy trapped in another dude's body, but because she needed her powers back. Oh, boo-hoo, just get over it. Wait, was that easy to renounce your wish? That's all you had to say? How did you even know that? What if the only way to renounce your wish was to run around in circles for an hour or say something bizarre? I don't know. Also, look at the way she just runs and screams, man. How can you have a budget of $200 million and not afford to make the run look realistic? Her head isn't moving at all. It should be bobbling a little bit like a normal person's. No one in the editing bay thought this looked really weird and absurd. No one. I made this point very early on, but this lasso, which was a couple feet long, can now be used like Spider-Man webs to apparently go really, really far. And worst of all, she later rides lightning. Fucking lightning. I'm sorry, but what? Wait. She can fly now? Fly now! Are you fucking kidding me? Where was this in the other DC movies? Where does this power up even come from, you moron? What the hell? All of this to get that stupid suit, which you don't need because you got your powers back anyways? Also, why does she need to fly to her apartment in DC of all places? I thought it was a small town with 10 people.
You made a wish too, huh? They're a bitch, aren't they? They can pay a price, but I've never been one for rules. Luckily, I have a way to reverse it.
But that in itself is contradictory. For starters, we have already established how this is not how the stone is supposed to operate based on the Mayan discussion scene. The stone automatically takes your most valuable possession, whereas Maxwell takes whatever he wants, even though he wished to become the stone itself. The second thing that is really dumb is that, like I mentioned before, at no point was this brought up, that you only get one wish. This was never established and again has zero logic, but the worst sin is by the third thing. The third problem is that Maxwell says you get only one wish, but provided I take something in return, I can grant another wish? But why? Why can't the stone by itself accomplish the same thing and perhaps take your second most valuable possession, which if you think about it would become your number one, but I digress. Maxwell is the stone, so logic would follow that a stone should be able to grant the same thing, in which case you can make multiple wishes, but apparently since Maxwell is the stone now, you can make more than one wish, but you can't make it if the stone was by itself? How does this even work or make any remote sense? Oh, and then Barbara by the end also wishes to become an apex predator, only to become an ugly ass CGI cheetah in really bad lighting. First, they did not hold hands while making the wish, but second, cheetah isn't even an apex predator. Did you guys not do your research? This dude in the next scene tells him he can have as many broadcasting signals as he wants.
How many broadcasting signals can I take over at once?
Well, as many as you like, sir.
Again, is this how it works? You can just bypass international broadcasts as well? I would understand in the entirety of the United States, sure, but jurisdiction over other countries? Am I missing something here?
Jesus fucking Christ! I didn't know they allowed retards in
film school.
Am I to understand that you cannot
direct a movie?
Can you even
write a story?
Maxwell proceeds to talk to people and they start making wishes, all of which are really evil and bad, except for that one chick who wishes to be famous. Out of the billions that exist, none of them make good wishes. Wishing well for humanity, solving world hunger, AIDS, my student debt loan, erectile dysfunction. Okay, sorry, I'm sharing too much information here, but you guys get my point. And when you think about that, you realize that Diana is a total asshole for forcing people to renounce her wish. But I'll get into that after we talk about the final fight. Like I ranted about earlier, she rides lightning because fuck me, I guess, and can hear the people making wishes and sense them, and there's a storm taking place because of this. Why is there a storm taking place because of this?
Just answer the damn question.
This dipshit wishes for his dad to come back, but then he just doesn't. I mean, he does, but not because of the wish. Bitch really flew road lightning in a small town like DC only to get a fucking armor upgrade. Again, why? You got your powers back. What makes this armor so special? But then Cheetah, I mean Barbara, attacks her and just tears her wings off like it's nothing. So again, what was the point of this stupid armor anyways? And also, why was this armor not able to hold up when apparently that Amazonian warrior, whose name I'm not interested in remembering, was able to hold off against hundreds of men?
Why?
Oh look, another action scene that is in slow motion, poorly choreographed, horribly shot, and terribly lit. Who would have expected it from Patty Jenkins?
Not me.
I would like to think I've earned myself a break here, but I do hate myself, so let us talk about the fact that Diana does not attack during this point at all, and then she has the audacity to throw them off like it was part of her plan. Why did you stop attacking? This fight seriously makes Black Panther's final fight scene look like the raid, because holy shit is it awful.
This is bad.
Oh look, Barbara died. I'm sure the audience will miss her alive.
I'm an adult. I can handle this. I'm okay.
Again, why is there a storm taking place? Max, you already got what you wanted. Why do you keep granting wishes?
It's too late, Diana! They already heard me! Already wished! And those that haven't yet! Oh, they will!
Bro, why are you even moving here? What are you accomplishing exactly? They can't even see you anymore, so how are you broadcasting? I seriously cannot believe Wonder Woman lost her air. Think about that shit. That's big brain energy for you. How can you even hear her with how windy it is? Why is it so windy anyways? Some people wish for world peace, you asshole, and you took it away.
This world was a beautiful place, just as it was.
That's cap. I brought it up before, but why does the lasso let you see the past and the present? My problem isn't that this is a mechanic. My problem is that this mechanic is brought up late in the story and is never used when it could have been to resolve issues due to lack of urgency or brain cells.
Holy fuck, that's bad.
How is the lasso even broadcasting to the world? It's just an amalgamation of everything wrong with this movie, just all combined into one scene. Also, this dumbass really starts yelling daddy in the middle of the highway. See what I mean when I say I hate kids? They do this retarded shit. Okay, so now he wants his son back because he realized the truth. Even though he tries to use him just an hour ago. If only Diana did this with Barbara, we would not be here. Also, why does Maxwell renouncing his wish make everyone else's wish go away? He already granted other people's wishes. After renouncing his own, his ability should cease to exist, yes, but others should get what they wanted, right? Oh wait, Barbara's alive. Great. So the pilot lets Maxwell come back on the helicopter after renouncing his wish, even though it was evident that Maxwell basically tried to destroy humanity and cause chaos. This dude really let him fly back to DC, despite this. And then his kid, after being stranded in the middle of the highway, comes out of nowhere from a forest? I guess little Brad got his wish. And then we randomly cut away to Christmas time with no consequences or conclusion for Barbara or Maxwell, for the destruction they caused, for all the soldiers lost, for all the lives lost, nothing at all. We just randomly cut away to Christmas time, weirdly shot in IMAX cameras for no reason, and then coincidentally, Diana runs into Handsome Guy and now is interested in him? Maybe she liked his dick. I mean, she did rape him after all, so what do I know? Whatever. The movie's over. Hey everyone, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you made it to the end of this video, if you made it to this point, that means you ended up watching all 80 minutes of me shit talking on this movie, which props to you guys for being able to handle it and tolerate my personality. But yeah, you know, working on this video has been somewhat stressful, I would say, albeit I really enjoyed it. Stressful really because I've been in the middle of editing this for a while, and with Texas losing electricity and power for a while, it really set me back for a few weeks and kind of killed my motivation as well. But I picked up the slack and I got moving and I finished this video. And while it's obviously not perfect, as you can tell, I fucking apologize twice for having audio issues. I did definitely enjoy it. It's been a great learning experience, and I'm hoping to put out more content, in the future. And for those of you who watched it and have any constructive criticism for me, I personally know what I would do different going forward. But for those of you who might have words of wisdom to offer, I would definitely appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully you'll be seeing more videos soon in the future. But that's all I got to say. So goodbye.